ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Hey Safeguard, TheScoreEsports.com, Mountain Dew, and ESEA.
Good evening. A rather early start for us here at the ESL Pro League, and we've got our second day of our fourth season kicking off right here, right now. I'm Alex Machine Richardson. You know who these are. I've got myself, YNK, and Henry G to talk about some games. Now,
oh yes,
we had a good first day. I think we got to see, the bottom line, and we're going to start with this, was a little bit of ugly CS, Henry. Yanko called it some various other words, but it wasn't beautiful.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't beautiful. We saw Team X was this phase, right?
Yes.
Kicking off, there were a lot of mistakes being made, a lot of like clutter in terms of executions to bomb sites and brawls, and kind of a lot of misses going on as well. But it was Team X who were making the majority of the mistakes. They actually lost 2-0 against FaZe. But the funny thing is, they went on and played them in a separate qualifier in Star Ladder,
which is so confusing.
And they beat them on couple 16-0. Was at the rematch, same rematch, and it was I didn't get to catch it, but 16-0, and they actually ended up winning the second map. I think it was like a closer game, but still, they must have bounced back. Maybe they found some form, shook off the rust, you know, and they came back.
Even more interesting, as you see here, so the first day of the EU division, we saw 16-5 in favor of FaZe. Yeah. They then proceeded to play them on the same map, Mirage, in the what was it called? The Star Ladder S2 Europe qualifier, and we actually saw them win 16-4.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand. Janko, have you seen examples of this before? Just before I do answer that question, just highlight that NiP did go ahead and get a back and forth game versus VP.
I don't think to this extent. I've seen teams, play twice on the same day and, different teams win, but to have such a different performance, especially on the same map and on the same side that they played before, it was a huge surprise for sure.
I guess online CS does have sort of turbulent results sometimes, but to that kind of level, that's kind of insane. I've never really seen anything like that before. It's kind of interesting, and maybe we'll see that kind of Team X turn up tonight. I hope so. Like we said, when they played in Pro League, it actually looked pretty disappointing the way they were approaching each situation. So.
Yeah, it really did. And of course, we actually get to see both of those teams crop up again. They're going to be playing different opponents though, but we're going to bring up what's coming up today. What do you have to look forward to? Well, we kind of hinted at it already. You get to see Team X versus NiP. Now, that should be interesting. Again, we get to see Cobblestone, not forgetting Team X just off the back of a 16-0 victory on that very map versus none other than the boys from FaZe. Following that, we get to see VP FaZe. It's going to be intriguing to see what VP can do versus obviously a bit of a up and down, hit or miss FaZe team. Did you see the scoreboard as well, Yanko? Like, I think that we'll run with that FaZe thread for just a moment, because it was like, I'm looking at it now. 2 maps, 15 frags for Alu, 15 for JChem, 10 for AZ, 10 frags in 2 maps, that like from one of what was the rising, if not the most exciting Dane.
Yeah, it's not just that, it's the fact that in 2 maps they won 3 rounds on the T side. I mean, that's just abysmal, pretty much. You have to be able to do better than that, even though you just have a new player based on your sheer individual skill. But as you just pointed out, it seems like they just didn't show up for that game at all.
Let's talk about having the one player. NiP were playing with Disco Doplin, and he was just a full stand-in, right? And they're still playing pretty competitive CS Edge. He took a map off VP and had a close game with overtime on the second map as well. So he fitted in really nicely. He had a really strong game. He was actually probably their MVP across that series. And Alu, who's coming in as a full-time replacement, and he looked weak. He didn't seem like the star we know him to be. So something's definitely a little bit missing, I guess, from FaZe at the moment.
Yeah, we'll be seeing if they can kind of bounce back today. We'll be seeing more of this. It's going to be a very intense couple of days of Counter-Strike. They've been playing a whole lot in various leagues. But coming up today, and looking at our league table, you can see how it did settle. After our very first day, FaZe do have that top spot. And VP did manage to kind of break the curse early by picking up an early win and making it 1-1, of course, managing to get over that nuke defeat versus NiP. That was the second game of the day.
Yeah, why do they keep playing nuke?
Why did it crop up?
Well, I guess in this veto section is a little bit harder. You get a 1 ban each, right? But still, like the fact 2 bans there. Okay, but then still, the fact that we watch them play nuke and they just don't seem like they're prepared on it. They have good default and a good approach to the actual main idea of the rounds, but in terms of falling back and actually having like the executions and like the fakes going on as well, they're pretty much running the same default every single round and hoping they can rely on their individual fraggers. For me, it's not going to be good enough on a map like nuke. Nuke, you need to have these kind of things to fall back on to actually get into bomb sites.
Now, the game that we saw from NiP versus Virtus Pro was over on Overpass. And I do want to kind of know where we put NiP in this category. We're about to play again versus Team X. And I would assume, historically, we'd have said this is an NiP open and shut case. But what did we see from NiP yesterday, Yanko? Was it a promising signs? I mean, that victory on Nuke we said was just forget about it, VP don't play.
I feel that Overpass is one of the weaker maps for NiP.
Okay.
They have the mindset that they can play all 7 maps and they are just depending on their opponents, right? But considering that you're playing Team X, and Team X is a team that plays the custom maps, right? Their go-to maps are Overpass, Cbble, Train, and Mirage is there as well. So I would have felt that, you know, playing against them, maybe you want to veto Overpass. I feel for NiP, even Cobblestone is a stronger map for them than Overpass is. So I think that there's definitely upset potential on this particular map.
Yeah, and I remember talking about NiP and their kind of innovation on Cobble, Henry. You know, they had NiP smokes. When Threat arrived, it wasn't just those smokes. There was quite a lot that they did shift around,
this is the thing, right? When he did first arrive, like, no one had seen that side of NiP in a very long time. Before he came in, they were a very default sort of team, and they ran as teamwork. That was the whole thing, the fundamentals of the game. But that was obviously a problem going forward. Threat came in, he did add this tactical depth to them, but the problem is, it got to the point after they win a few big events with this kind of this approach. At that stage, that's when people start downloading you and kind of working out how you actually approach every situation. Now they're starting to get a bit stale. Now they need to readdress and kind of have more of the hybrid setup where they can still fall back onto those fundamentals, but have more like the executions are great and they look really flashy and stuff like that. But like a lot of teams know what that means now. So. Against a team like X, though, I still feel like they're the strong favourite going into this one.
X are the favourite?
No, sorry, NiP are the favourites. Right. I think, regardless, I feel like they're superior players across the board. And the addition of Disco Doppler actually was really, really impressive for him. He's such a rising star right now. One of the young Swedes from Epsilon, and what a perfect replacement for him. He's actually showing he can play Tier 1 CS and keep up with the big boys, which is pretty difficult task to do coming from his sort of level. So very impressive.
Yeah, and it was a discussion that was often had, you know, with the fact that CS in one iteration or another have been around for so many years, that the people questioned how open it was to rising stars, how open it was to newer names that people were unfamiliar with, that didn't have the history like the others, you know, the likes of Get Right and Forest, legends in the entirety of Sweden, celebrities in their own right. And then you've got likes of Disco Doppler, who probably grew up watching them play, and now he's playing alongside them. Is this something that you would have considered, Henry? Like it's a interesting discussion to have of this, the sheer amount of experience that these newer players just don't have.
These are the best kind of teams. It's similar for X as well. They've got like the old heads and Modi and Frizz and stuff like that, and then they're bringing in these younger players. I think it's the best way to approach a CS team as a whole. Like the fact you can bring these younger players in, they're super hungry to learn and prove that they're not just talented aim stars. They want to take this experience and the wisdom from these guys, and that's the best way to actually like raise the talent up in a certain region. As a lot of regions do struggle with that. You obviously have like the older players who may be a little bit arrogant and don't want to try and waste their time, I guess, like teaching these younger players. But you know, after seeing these players like Disco Doppler, if he does get nurtured by these older players and the guys who've had all the big LAN experience and stuff like that, he does have the potential to be a world-class player. Like, give it a year or so, if he plays more of these sort of lineups, like he's going to be a really interesting talent. So that's going to be great to watch.
So Yanko, I mean, running with that, then, do you think that there are some things that you just can't have as a new player that you do get as a veteran? These experiences.
Definitely so. I think that a lot of it also depends on talent. You have young players who are extremely talented and have a great grasp of the game. Players that are like Nico are an excellent example. I think so, but you definitely learn things while playing on the top level of Counter-Strike, because it's a whole different ball game, pretty much, right? It's the players are much more skilled individually. The 5v5 play, against on a team level is also much more complex. So you learn things like timings, how to, be aggressive but not too aggressive, so that you throw away an advantage. Those little nuances of the game, I feel that that's something that newer players lack the most. It's not necessarily firepower, right? Aim-wise, it's the younger players who are, touted as the new, snappy, great mechanical players. They just need to learn those little intricacies of the game to be able to unleash their full potential, so to speak.
Okay, so we'll be perhaps seeing like more of these as of, do you think it's like this is the era? Like I know there's a lot of hype around a lot of very young players, 15, 16-year-olds who are rising through the ranks.
Teams like NiP need to start taking notice of these guys. Obviously, they've missed out on this big shuffle between Godson and Fnatic. They need to start looking down to this Echelon of CS and work out, okay, we've missed out on the big names. We haven't got the Olaf Meisers, the Dennises, or the JWs and stuff like that. Let's start farming talent now. Let's start working out who's going to be available. I think Epsilon, we discussed this yesterday, Matt and I did, is the fact that they've got this great team, emerging team, but the problem is for them, they're always just going to be a farm squad for the big boys, right? Unfortunately, that's just going to be the case. They're going to start showing they have got this great talent emerging, and then all of a sudden, it's going to the team will get picked up. They're going to have players poached by teams like NiP.
I mean, in NiP's case in particular, I feel the problem for them is, right, when you farm young talent, you basically want to get a great player and then
develop
him, right, so that he can become the star player of the team. The problem that I feel NiP has is that they bring a new player, a younger player, and then force him into a support role, right? Because none of the core 4 of the team wants to be a support. They did it to Freiburg before with Alo on the lineup. It didn't work at all. He's just not that type of a player. I don't think that, you know, even Exist maybe would be the one who has to do it, but you're not sure whether he's willing to do it.
To be fair, yesterday though, like we saw Doppelin actually, he was almost full main AWP for most of the game. They're doing it. We were expecting Forrest to be doing it most of the time, which he did a little bit of as well, but they were allowing Disco Doppelin to go on the AWP and actually say, right, this is the thing you're best at. Why don't you actually start wielding this weapon and see what you can do with it? So I think that they're willing to allow him to come into this lineup and have more freedom. I think that's going to be the best way to get your most out of your players. There've been so many cases throughout CS, and especially in CSGO, you pick up a new player and you try and force him to fill the hole that you had from a previous lineup. Instead of actually assembling the lineup around him and actually allowing him to do what he wants, you're forcing him to positions that he doesn't want to do. I think the biggest example of this right now will probably be Envious with Devil. You can see how stifled he is. Like he went from one role in LDLC, then he's forced in just to really just fill the holes of Kiyoshima, and you can see that they're still changing it every.
Moving swiftly on, Alex.
To finish the point, and then he just like to get the most out of these players. You can see Envious announcing the other day, like now they're really going to address these roles and put the players where they want to be and actually make that happen. So yeah, filling holes aside, Alex.
Filling holes.
Let's move on.
Whew, okay, let's fill that hole with something else.
That's what happens when he's alone in an apartment with Sadokis for 3 days.
Stop. Okay, right. Freiburg. You mentioned him before. We actually talked a lot about him yesterday as an individual who was performing. Actually, he was top of the scoreboard for a great deal of those 2 maps we saw. However, I know that he was target of a lot of criticism, suggesting he was the one to be cut from NiP. Everyone thought that he was not a weak link, but his time was done. Everyone was kind of, you know, saying he was washed up and various other phrases. How can they hail criticism to someone like Freiburg? Where is this stemmed from, do you think?
I think the problem that the whole of NiP lineup has
the whole
is that,
team, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's that they were such a legendary team early on, right? They had that legendary streak. They had incredible individual performances simply because they were so much better than everyone else at the time. So now everyone is, you know, when you talk about Freiburg, people are talking about 2013 when he was this mad entry fragger coming into the bomb site first, getting 3 kills and winning the round basically for his team. That's just not viable anymore. I don't think there's a player on any team right now who can do that consistently, right? So an entry fragger role is typically more difficult than the others, and it's always the easiest to pick on players who have worse stats, right? Imagine if SK wasn't a championship winning team, you would see, even if they are, you see threads and people talking about Taco when SK loses a game, how he should be cut, he doesn't know how to play the game and everything, but he has his role and does a very good job for his team. I think that the problems are deeper than just one specific player.
Yeah, I think the whole Freiburg thing, it's an interesting conversation, absolutely. I feel like there was speculation that JW was going to be joining NiP for Freiburg, and that was going to be the big split coming in, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. And Freiburg, he was very good in 2013. The thing is, when NiP first formed, they were a hybrid of Source players and 1.6, and they were the guys that adopted the game first. It was more like Source as a whole, the whole game, so he really took it like a fish to water, right? He looked very strong. And as we get on and the competition gets tougher and tougher and tougher, he has got to a point where he is average now. I wouldn't say he's a bad player at all. I still think he's good. Just going up against the world's best, he does look like he's a bit outclassed.
Well, I mean, he's going up against Team X now, and maybe, just maybe, he can show us what he is made of. 2 days back-to-back. Your casters are ready, and so is the map. It's going to be Cobblestone to start things off between none other than Team X and NiP. Let's head over to your casting duo to start things off. It's Pansy and Uber.
Thank you very much, Alex. Yes, good prelude to set up this one a little bit here, Lauren, as well. We've already seen these 2 teams play yesterday with vastly different results sitting on both sides of the spectrum, I think, in both cases between these 2.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we look purely within the Pro League, this would be maybe not as an exciting matchup, but then you saw, of course, the result off the back of the Pro League game following Team X when they went to face-to-face again. Of course, they did play them back-to-back in another league, and they ended up picking that up. And we saw small pieces of hope. It was messy CS. I think that was very succinctly put on the desk.
It was a grind.
It
really,
very much
was. That overpass map was very much nose to the stone.
So now, the one thing I want to come back to is, though, the train matchup we saw with Team X. There was a lot of potential we saw there in certain aspects. The way they were hitting that B side, they found the weakness, they exploited it quite well. Again, Keo was struggling to deal with it.
Sure.
Alu didn't have much of a better time either. So there is a lot of potential on this Team X lineup. I think it would be inconsiderate to say there isn't. So again, I want to be keeping my eyes on what they can bring here. They're on those custom maps, so maybe this could be something we see them really finding comfort in. Again, however, you're still against NiP, and they've shown that they do have some decent play at the moment coming through there, looking competitive already. Freiburg, had a map, or he had a good performance overall, but it was Nuke where he really did actually step ahead, and of course Disco Doppler as well. Excuse me. So, why don't you take us away?
Right, into the pistol here as well. We can see, of course, a bit of a setup here for Team X. I'm probably going to call them XSK a couple times, ladies and gentlemen, mostly because that's what they're listed as here, as it is their ESEA team name. But Valde was the first one to receive contact there as well after Snappy finds Forest, and it will be Modi. The most forward player on the side, and that's not really saying much there at all. You can see that, well, Team X are actually a long way back away from this one. It's an easy plant here in Freiburg, more like Freeburg. The guys laying a few pistol kills in there as well, and Glaive on his lonesome.
Well, Yanko did say most people can't just walk into a site, get 3 kills. Well, he's got 4.
Yeah.
It is the pistol round. It's a good start, but for a player who, of course, does get a lot of criticism, I can imagine for him it's really nice to get that big start, get that confidence going early. This was actually something that was discussed quite recently, is the fact of, certain players really do get that confidence boost, maybe getting these eco frags in. That obviously wasn't particularly to that sort of strain, but for him, probably a nice
little... Freiburg that kind of momentum player?
I think if you come under enough criticism, it's always nice to get off to a good start, you know what I mean? So they're going straight up towards the rifle. There's actually 3 coming out here to play with the UMP and the MAC-10 to support Get Right and Forest at the bottom there, trying to build up that money. And it looks like just a relatively default-esque round. You've still got Freiburg and Doppler just waiting for that push out, see if there's anyone rushing out of A. No such luck here, and they can just slowly work their way throughout the map. But no real stack from Team X either. They've got a decent purchase back into the Snappy. He's got that UMP as well, so they can certainly contest this round quite nicely.
Modi would have been forced back very early on there, and it's going to be Get Right to open up the account. And speaking of cash money, of course, the MAC-10 going to be yielding a little bit of extra for him as well. So NiP would ideally like him to be the one getting the frags, and so far, things are playing out just that way. Now, Snappy has himself a UMP himself here, interestingly enough, but he's all the way over on A.
And Valde's a bit baffled. He knew there was someone by drop, and it's just ring a roses with Get Right now. But the sad fact being, they've taken over B, and now Valde's on the other side.
Yeah.
He's kind of left just watching as it happens. Probably just going to posture for exits at absolute best here. I doubt there's going to be much of a contest coming through. Just going to sit right here outside that window. Again, Snappy as well had that UMP over by A, so I doubt he wants to lose it either, as the next round would be pretty much worse than this for them. So if they can keep hold of this, that'd be good. If they get a couple of exits, even better. But you're going to see them going hunting. Forest can do it as well. He's got the UMP to hand. He's going to actually find both of them as well. Exist and Forest clean it up. And well, for Team X, they're going to have to come in with a very clean round here. Yeah,
Snappy and Valde hoping to pick up a little bit of extra money to carry them through this economic wasteland, I guess, for the next round at the very least here, you can see. Not going to be buying up too much here at all. Freeze obviously hoping to head towards an AWP as soon as possible at his convenience, but it's only been Snappy to get the kills thus far. And NiP have 2 on the board now as well. No big change-ups weapon-wise here as well. We're going to see Get Right stay with the MAC-10, and again, the UMP being picked up here for Forest exists as the Galil, and much the same approach here as well, except the stack now for Team X over towards B.
I want to see if they actually start using these mollies as well. There is that stack to B, so these mollies can be brilliant at just clearing some of these corners, and you can see almost every single player is basically facing off statue. That's a lot of damage if someone just peeks out. If they just step out into this, there's actually, a couple of shots here, you're probably going to get picked up. Exist is going to be the first to walk the gauntlet, but the flash did come through, denies one. They're peeking one by one. It's allowing so much room for Existence to do that. Sheer and utter precision comes out, and really that stack didn't really pay off. They find one, but that Galil could be recovered if they want it. Snappy's got a chance to do something, but it's Get Right he finds with that MAC-10, so ideally not the target you want to be taking down, and the Galil gets recovered for Forest.
Yeah, of course, the UMP there just being traded in. Forest more than happy to grab the Galil here, and NiP are in no hurry to really splash in cash, Lauren. Forest may buy up something here as well to 5-7. There's an AK for him this round, so 3 AKs coming in.
And Get Right is sticking on the MAC-10. I'm wondering if he's going to go straight towards drop. He's got actually quite a nice spawn for it as well, so he might just, barrel straight in there. But, he's still got utility. He can still clear out these corners, smoke off one of the sides. I'm not sure how he's going to utilize this, actually, just kind of barreling through. And this was the infamous thing that got everyone's attention, was that NiP fast setup for B. It allows the 2 players to go straight out almost. Those smokes are generally in play by then. However, it looks a little bit slower than usual. Here they come now. Actually, Get Right's got a really nice forward position. There's those smokes coming in. He's already down and out. He's going to be trying to push towards drop. And this is a nice position, but Glaive found Freiburg, so this isn't going to be easy, but the MAC-10 still finds one. Glaive goes, but it's down to 4v3 in favor to Team X.
That's right. Valde gets himself a quick couple there over on the statue, and now Forest with a heck of a lot of work to do. Freeze lovingly caressing the AWP he saved up for the last few rounds, and now Forest, well, he'd like to try and plant, but there are far too many people in this vicinity for him to be able to do that.
No one's expecting this. There was the one danger of no one actually looking at that corner. I don't think they'd expect him to go through the smokes. There's like 2 players pushing up towards site, but still, that was dealt with.
The switch there from Get Right as well. You saw him going towards B platform and then sort of cut back through towards drop room. Didn't quite work out there, though, as well. I think he got himself a couple, but the rest of NiP were cut down en route to the site.
Normally, NiP, when they do that sort of hit, they go straight out towards Statue. It kind of sets them up for it almost. So maybe he was trying to catch it off by that rock, by the kind of side position, just watching for that. Didn't really work out, and we actually have someone playing up in the tower, Forest. I guess they can just leave him here as that kind of beacon almost, of just be able to watch the back. He still has Disco Doppler with him as well, kind of playing by the staircase. And the vast majority of NiP are posturing towards that B side, but really non-committal at the moment. They're really deep on this, maybe expecting some aggression.
I don't know if Forrest is going to fire shots or let down his golden hair, but it looks like he has left the turret and heading now back to join the rest of NiP here as well, who have been playing this one fairly ponderously. It'll be Glaive with the first man to probably receive first contact at this stage, but NiP, again, no hurry to push down on towards his B platform. A bit of work towards drop room here as well. You can see the foundations being laid with a bit of utility, and already existed, taking a bit of damage here as well. You can see Team X, Valde especially, front and center. He's ready to receive any sort of unwelcome guests in from drop room.
Yeah, and Freeze and Snappy are not rotating off of A. They're still not sure where the commitment is. However, giving up drop room here allows GetRight to get some control building, and they can start working towards it. They're forcing Team X to play more, I guess, predictable positions. People like Forest and Exist can start looking towards this. GetRight holds off the angle. They know that there's no one close towards that little kind of broken wall there. Valde, they're going on the peak. The flash actually didn't work. So again, he's still doing fine, but they're looking for that opportunity to start this one up here in NiP, and really Team X are weathering the storm so far. Glaive's in a good spot if he can make something out of this.
And again, he's in that decent position. The first time we've seen him sit here as well, and the rest of NiP might just expose themselves here. Only Exists really looking towards this corner. He was a low player. He still gets the kill. With only a small amount of health left. It's just two, but Valde now as well. He's on drop room duty. He himself going quite low, but at least there's Freeze. He chimes in there as well. Coming in from Connector, but Exists responds. And now it's just two players here left for Team X. And Snappy has got a long walk to get back here. Valde is looking worse for wear. And now, of course, lacking life as well.
Yeah, Snappy was really late to this. Again, the clock has run down incredibly fast, so maybe just weighing up both options in case maybe they tried to go the A hit, but what can he do now? He's in a 1v3. Exist is actually pretty low, but Forest still has the AWP. He has no step towards the site. That was quite a messy round, actually, and a very slow pace from NiP coming out there.
It looked like Team X sort of had it on lock there as well. I mean,
For a while.
Freeze getting picked at connector doors, or double doors, sorry, there by Forest walking on the side. Probably something you want to avoid, especially it's a power position for an AWP player, especially as the T side is actually making their way onto that site. So the fact that Forest has a time to, you know, take a brief detour and pick his head off as he makes his way to the site is probably a little bit concerning there, but there will be a bomb planted here, and Snappy as well. Well, he's going to be taking his time and trying to stay alive here into the next round. So, I mean, what have we seen from Team X here, really?
I think it's just early game for me alone. I'll see if they start reading NiP better, if they get into the read of it and how they want to start countering this kind of very persistent B hit that's coming through. But the main thing is they actually recovered the AWP off of Freeze. So we're going to see the double AWP now coming out. So I'd like to see Disco Doppler actually picking that one up. Again, he was quite a highlighted player with the AWP, so I'm wondering if he's going to go for that. And I think he left the AWP in spawn. He forgot to pick it up.
No,
So
he spent 5K this round,
there.
so either he dropped out on 8K.
Yeah.
Okay, either way, he's now going to be up in the tower as well. And Forest, you can see they're both going to try and work the long angles here outside of A. Exist as well. Maybe just trying to rile up the natives a little bit over here at B. No real killer intent at NiP, and just they're testing the waters here at B for the moment.
The one thing I will say is that NiP have come into this and they've got quite a slow posture to the game at the moment. They're taking their time, which could work out really nicely for this round, actually. You don't want to be walking into a bit of a trap, a bit of a surprise. Again, the danger player right now is Snappy, so keep your eyes on where he's going to be playing, if anywhere, probably towards maybe Chicken Coop, maybe towards the back of Statue, somewhere relatively safe so the others can play almost buffer to it. And GetRight, again, being very much at the forefront here, just working in towards drop. He's done this consistently, been given control, but now Team X needs to be able to work a way to kind of either limit his options as to what he can achieve, because here comes the rest of NiP now, quite cautious still.
Yeah, not much utility to pave the way for Exist to actually access this side, so it's little peaks here and there, just taking, or trying to take a mile and give it an inch here as well. He's challenged out by Modi there as well, tries to get the spray transfer, but Glaive will shut him down. The bomb, though, still in the hands of Forest, still on that B platform now, and Snappy gets the shot towards GetRight. Just 3 left here for NiP, and 2 of those are AWPs. Now the picks start coming in, though. That's Freiberg and Forest chiming in, and Snappy will fall as well. As Team X getting caught out in the open with their pants around their ankles, and it's easy as that.
Absolutely gorgeous work from Forest then to keep that in check. There was only one big danger player there, which was Snappy with the M4, but still that got dealt with. He took a bit of a kind of the slow step out on Forest, already holding the angle. It's like, you're ambitious, I'll give you that, but still. To be fair, I'd like to see maybe Team X almost making them play for the plant a little more. They're taking some of these fights that maybe a little early in it, but that's just how I feel. They still have that double AWP, so again, this is going to be quite a tough one, I can imagine, for Team X to break down now.
Let's see if we see a fast AWP to B platform here to shut down any sort of attempt to get up close and personal if you're Team X here. Again, though, Glaive playing it quite slowly. In fact, Team X seem to give a lot of this B side, at least the initial stages of the B platform, over to NiP here.
And this is one of the first times that we're seeing Freeze a little quicker on the dedication towards B. Forest.
That's not good.
Okay, that's a little dangerous. On 2 HP, at least, I guess, for some silver lining, he's with the AWP, so he can still do work. He doesn't need that extended time to kill, so that's a very small, thin piece of silver lining. But again, this is a nice piece here. I like Forest being over here. They've kind of swapped him out with Modi, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like Glaive wants to challenge Drop a bit more as well. So maybe they're just kind of wondering, how can we adapt to this? This is what I wanted to see, is how do they switch up now?
Yeah, banking on the counter flash there, as Glaive did have it in his hands. Seeing some shots coming down there from upper. It's going to be Get Right to challenge here as well. Glaive forced to turn his back. Might be the wrong idea here as well. And even Valde just around the corner, still waiting for Get Right to show himself. He's actually tagged by the flash, but he doesn't get flashed at all. And Get Right will fall.
Yeah, Get Right knew he was there the moment that flash actually hit the player. You're going to know that one, but still. Came out with the goods, and I like the way Team X is playing extraordinarily deep on this one. You've got Freeze falling, quite far back to Cube. You've got Valde supporting him as well. So they're trying to give NiP just enough rope to kind of hang themselves with. Those double ups, though, can still pay off. And look at this boost coming out. Doppelin here going to be up on top. Maybe 3 steps out here. You could get a glimpse, but Team X are not giving them picks here. This is better. They're just sitting pretty deep in, making them commit towards the side. Modi should have a shot on this. That's a comfy pickup, but I don't know what more they can do with this one. Yeah, NiP have been done for. This is lovely from Team X. Very, very passive, though.
Yeah, I mean, as you see NiP want to slow roll this a little bit here as well. Their tendencies towards that B side have been very thought out. The thing is that it seems that Team X are comfortable with this as well. They're more than happy to either play retake or wait for NiP to peek over into this B site here as well. And NiP didn't really cover themselves with a very interesting setup there. There wasn't any utility being thrown on the site to get them there.
I was about to say, I wonder if NiP would just go and just switch it up now and go, let's hit A. They've noticed that Freeze was starting to pull himself over towards B, but it is going to be the push towards long at the moment. I think Freiburg's just kind of sitting a little further back in case there is that kind of counter push coming through from middle. No one's really there. He might have to look in towards danger at some point. But looking at Team X, they are sitting back incredibly deep, even on A. They've given them a lot of real estate to play with actually here. So again, this can be a set piece coming out. Forest can smoke off doors. They can actually build into this quite quickly. But I think Modi's got a good idea what's going on. This guy sometimes has that really nice intuition. He's already starting to posture towards coming towards A, but NiP going to go for a quick hit off the back of this. The set pieces come in. Modi's en route. Everyone's coming around. Freiburg's holding the back, but can NiP get to the site and can they get that bomb down?
Freeze in position there as well, but that first shot is not going to connect, and NiP haven't really set foot on the side yet as well. Snappy's going to be there to cut them out from under them, and there comes Forest. He at least replies, now going to make his way in towards storage. It's going to be the smoke up. And we can see that NiP have screened this side off quite well from Team X. Very hard for them to get access, but this is Glaive coming in from behind.
But look how isolated it exists on the site. Everyone else is already ready for that afterplant position. These three are going to have a tough time playing retake on this, and I think Team X knows that. They're already falling away. Really nice play from NiP just to switch it up on a dime there, almost just going, all right, well, they've started to work out our B play. They've started to get an idea of what we're doing. Let's just switch it up. Let's switch that piece up, and they've already gone into this one. So just a really quick hit off the back of those smokes, going straight up long. Bomb plant came in. There was a bit of a trade out, though. It did get a little bit dangerous, but again, there were so many smokes put into play. It was almost that clear run through towards that bomb site.
Yeah, I mean, they screened the side off really well. I think it's something that Virtus Pro did very well against Godsend, actually, the other day on this map. As soon as they get a modicum of control of A, they will screen off connector. And of course, Juliet as well. Hard to peek into that situation. So NiP, they go for double AWP. They try and get some picks. They try and keep Team X at arm's length. It seems as though they get up in your face. The contact push for the AK seems to be paying off a little bit better.
Yeah, yet to get off the starting block, so is Disco Doppelin. I'm kind of hoping he gets building up into this one. He did have a really nice impact play into the last Pro League games for NiP, so finding consistency when you're standing is always going to be almost impossible, but have to see what he brings into this one. Another different piece, and this is the fast play off towards B plat. Ooh, these smokes should be quick to their placing. So again, let's see if Exist and Get Right can actually get into the site off the back of these. They are being held up. A great deal of utility has been put into this by Team X. Get Right with the flash. Here we go. Anyone facing that angle would have been flashed then, and he's been given free reign to get to the site. He catches a glimpse of one. Flash comes in. There's those smokes, and he is going hunting.
This is the killer instinct from in there as well. Freeze goes down through the door. Get Right gets himself the second. This is how you cut a bomb site open like a surgeon. Now Valde that was left on the statue, and he gets himself 2 kills over towards B platform. The bomb goes loose now as well, and NiP's chances are hanging in the balance here. Valde going B now to 1v1.
And Get Right knows where that final player is. He spotted him out. The bomb is still loose. He hasn't picked that one up just yet. 3 kills to his name, and Snappy needs to get this going. He's got a smoke, he's got a kit, he's got a flash. And now how does he approach it? He's taking the slower route. He's going to let him take some control here.
I like this from Get Right.
What's Get Right up to? He's not going straight towards the bomb. He's actually looking for this one too. He wants to keep Snappy on his toes. 48 seconds, and Get Right is He's predicting a close enough position, but Snappy's holding the
check
bush.
this.
Snappy's actually watching the window, not the doorway. Again, the adjustment isn't far, but who's quicker on that trigger? And Get Right doesn't peek it. Snappy waiting ever so patiently. He had the control. He had the time in his side, on his favor. So again, that worked out really well. But Get Right did almost just turn that round on its head then, just going straight through, being so precise on that one.
Really nice. Yeah, really good to see that killer instinct from Get Right there as well. Look at him rolling on towards his site.
And that's the thing, I think he spotted out Valda first of all. So he must have called there's probably one on site there, because he did shoot towards it for a second.
Yeah, he checked it as well.
But then the 3 players behind him got kind of caught up by Glaive and then Valda. So again, a bit unfortunate, but it worked out well for Team X. Scoreline-wise though, a bit of a dominant start here for NiP. They're looking pretty comfortable in this. Forest, however, is down to the Tech-9, been on that AWP purchase quite some time here. And ooh, Valda, a brave angle to go for. This could be pretty dangerous. NiP are coming through, and Exist just turns his back right into him. Switches up to the AK. Valda is going big. That's lovely. 3 kills back to back. And the why are they just running into him like this? That was just the biggest feed I've seen in a while. Get Right now is left in a 1v4. He's found 2. He wants to turn this round back on his head, but he's got 3 players in the bomb on the other side of them.
He does spot the head of Glaive as well, but Glaive has a high percentage spot there as well. He's back behind the rock, and now on a statue, drop towards the side, and Get Right is just going to try and have to span through the door and get lucky, but no, there's going to be a player coming in from window, and Valde gets himself the ace. What a great way to shut NiP down. It seems like when they're playing slow, Lauren, it's too slow, and now coming with these AKs, this aggression, this push towards the side.
Did anyone challenge him?
Sword.
Wait, did anyone take the fight here, or did they just run through? Okay, Disco tried to, but then he just kind of like blocked the others. Freiburg didn't hit a bullet. That's unreal that he got away with that sort of spot.
So it really is a pendulum swings, Lauren. It's one extreme to the other here for NiP. The aggression worked out the first time. They went for the AK buy. That time, not so much. Now, they're forced to make do with pistols and not a lot else.
Now, last time they went towards A, they hit up long pretty much. Now they're going middle. This allows Freeze to get into the game. He's been very quiet so far with the AWP. Not really had that many opportunities to get it going for the rounds they've actually done well in. And now they're going to fall back to that very deep passive position. Freeze is still actually looking for some opportunities here. The nice little spot, you can catch him if they do swing towards middle again. NiP are very aware of that, but they look quite stuck here. They don't know how to build themselves out of this one now.
I mean, you try and go ramp, you get picked up by Freeze, you'd work danger, and obviously you still need to peek in towards Wooden as well. So, I mean, no really great openings here for NiP. They haven't created any for themselves, to be fair, and now it's going to be Freiburg looking well, for something over here, but you can see Glaive's been counter-boosted up here towards drop, and he'll catch Freiburg the moment he gets around a corner.
This is a matter of discipline to me. Looking at Team X, how much discipline do they have?
Oh, the freaking
Freiburg,
crouch.
the crouch in. The crab arrived. He's recovered a gun. The crab now will scurry away and bring it back to his crab people.
That's just rude, that is.
That's brilliant. But yeah, you know, for me, the good thing here is at least Team X are showing a good amount of discipline by not just walking into this. Because NiP are just sat there going, please just walk to us. Just give us a chance to get some guns away.
They're just holding close angles around corners and hoping that, you know... And to be fair, from Team X, we kind of saw this tendency for them as well to show that aggression on previous maps. But again, we're seeing them allow NiP to take some space here as well. They're sitting back and just, well, coming back in with the refrags or the retakes as they're required here. But Snappy, on that side, Modi is close by him as well. We're free should be able to lay down the law a little bit from
Freiburg.
off in the corner. It's going to be Freiburg and Get Right getting involved here. Just 2 players left here for Team X, and Get Right already making his way across now. Modi keeping himself scarce. He gets Disco Dop on there as well. Somehow manages to turn that one around, but Get Right's always going to be there, and it's going to be Valde. It's 5 seconds left in the round. There's not enough time for Get Right to plant the bomb, let alone win the round itself, and he's going to have to back out and hold on to the AWP.
What a round, though. How did that happen? It was small piece after small piece being exploded by NiP. He gets away with an AWP there when they started off with Glocks, and I think 1P250 maybe, and I think that was it. I don't know if Freiburg got the smoke as well at the start, or he picked it up off of, I think it was Glaive who'd pushed up. So something for nothing, I guess, in that thing. You know, that sort of situation. That's pretty insane. So he's got himself an AWP coming out for NiP. I don't know if they could have actually afforded that otherwise. So again, a really nice kind of pick up there. Freeze, though, getting a little more active in the peak, not going to allow so much control for NiP, and seeing players already showing presence on long might weigh heavy in Team X's mind. Last time we've seen that, there was commitment off the back of it. This time, not the case.
Again, just little peaks here from Team X. Not going too far, but Exist. Unfortunate to be cut down like that, but Glaive finds him through the smoke. However, he wasn't the mainstay for NiP working on towards that side. It's Get Right and Freiburg still over at B, and of course at A here, you can see Disco, Doppelin and Forest setting up for some hijinks here as well, as Forest wants to get the early peak. Tough for a CT to play along A if you don't have someone to give you the refrag situation here, but Snappy will be waiting inside danger. Doppelin should be checking this, and he isn't, and that's exactly what happens. Check your corners, otherwise Snappy's going to take you out.
Did he miss him not looking out?
Yeah, I think that happened. Okay. Well, Snappy now can smoke up that door as well. Forest would be remiss to even bother trying to push through that one at this stage. So I think you can't check every corner in this game, but some are just more important than others, Lauren. And now Forest, Freeze was right there. He's standing out in the open, but Forest couldn't see the wood for the trees, if you know what I mean. And that's get right there, at least find Snappy. But still, it's 2v4. And it's Team X really in control here, but Freeze again missing some of these sitter shots. You've got to hit those. And now he's given away his position here. He's going to try and flash and stay alive, but the molly's coming in hot.
Get right, being slowed down at least on the push here, on going past those doors. They're down to the 2 players. Doesn't have the angle. Freeze finally starts to hit them, and Freiburg can only do so much. Finds Glaive on the way out, but it will be Team X to shut it down and actually bring the round score pretty even. We're at 6-6 now. This is a really nice swing around from Team X. I think, a couple of the rounds, of course, have been lower buys from NiP, but they have broken the back. They've strung together these rounds, which has been quite nice to watch. And Valda, of course, at the very top here. But bearing in mind, that was off the back of the ace. Takeaway 5, he's kind of still sitting around the others, but he's been playing very well.
But the scoreboard's a good example of, I guess, where NiP are running into the most resistance here as well. Valde has been that B player, has been up on that platform along with Glaive, and that's where he's been getting most of those kills as well. So NiP are going to go back to this B push, obviously just with Tech9s now as well. Valde, this guy's got balls of steel. He's more than happy to peek into this one and get himself the first frag.
And he's doing off the back of these really nice set team flashes. They've caught them both times now. He didn't actually fully peek off the back. Now he's fallen back himself. He's caught him with the flash. He has to be careful. He knows they're encroaching towards the side. Modi finds Get Right. Valda readjusts accordingly, catches out Exist, and now we're down to 2.
Yeah, just 2 plays as well, and well, not terrible from NiP to get themselves a couple of kills in this round. No gun salvage though, and then Freiburg's at the door with the Tech9, and well, no sight apparently as the flash comes in and takes him down. Modi will just put the finishing touches on this one, and it is Team X put themselves out in front for the first time of this game. A strong start from NiP brought to a screeching halt in the last few rounds by some very disciplined play from Team X, of course, headed up by Valde, who has been doing most of the dirty work.
Yeah, he's been absolutely outstanding so far. Again, though, this is a good buy for NiP. I'm not sure what they want to try out here because it seems, as you said, that kind of B grind has not been working. It looks like that 3-play smoke with a set piece coming in for them with Get Right and Exist leading the charge. They need to do this pretty quickly. Oh, that's taking a little bit more time than maybe expected, and already the aggression comes out. Valda, as you said, balls of steel, they're just going straight up for it. He knows what's coming in. He expects it. He's seen these smokes. He's seen this play before, and this is how he wants to counter it. Exist has not been able to have the impact he wanted. The utility became, too much to handle. He can't break through, and now the crossfire's still in place. The flashes again are phenomenal coming out from Team X, and now Glaive is there as well.
That's right, so Valde falls and Glaive is there to pick up there. He gets his second, and the bomb goes loose, and Freiburg now with a heck of a lot on his plate. The bomb still needs to be picked up, and Modi just sends him packing there. We've talked about Valde, how he's been able to get these kills and have these hero plays, but we just saw a great example of him being set up by his team to perform. The flash came in, facilitated for him to turn this situation around. You see he's back in the corner now. The opponent who pushes him, exists his flash trying to come around that corner. So NiP can't even actually pressure that part of the map safely when Team X are watching, keeping Valde alive, and also disrupting NiP en route.
Yeah, this is called a lot of trouble for NiP. They have so little to play with now. They don't have the mollies, they don't have the AWP, they barely have enough to string together around in this. So not going to be an easy one, and there's been so much variety from Team X so far, at least towards B. Let's stick towards that one for now. Again, Get Right initially had incredible success working through drop, being a real nuisance, getting in between them. But then after that, it's kind of ground down. Glaive's actually really starting to perform on this. He had the support for, previously from, I think Modi actually pulled himself towards that as well. But let's see where NiP can bring this now. They're down to the option of, well, let's see what we can do. It looks like an A split coming in, just because we've got Get Right and Freiburg sat by drop, and you have the 3 players over towards middle. The big counter to that is the fact that Freeze actually needs to be careful here. He's going to be dealing with the players pouring through drop if they do actually make it that far. And no, they're going to switch it up. That's better. Okay, Glaive's going to be the one doing it. He has the rifle tag. Great flash, though, comes in. And that's going to allow Get Right the freedom of passage to come through. And now this is the problem. The pinch comes in, and Team X are down to Snappy.
That's right. Forrest's going to fall as he just comes around the corner, and Snappy will be waiting. But it's a heck of a lot for him to do, and it's just Valde left now as well, who's been an absolute superstar. It's been a mercurial performance thus far from Valde. But now, he needs to try and challenge this one out, of course. No point saving at this stage of the game. He's got himself a Molotov and a kit, and of course his trusty AK. It's going to have to be enough to get him the distance, but Freiburg will shut him down there as well. So NiP do get themselves a bit of a consolation round back there at the end of the half. They played into that one with 4 AKs and a Galil and still managed to make it work, but it looked like they were ground down over time. It seems the Team X managed to get the measure of them there in those last few moments. But we're going to cut to a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. And when we get back, we will see NiP now go on the CT side. It'll be Team X to come in on the Ts. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the ESL Pro League. It's the first game of the day. We're just heading into the second half here of NiP versus Team X on Cobblestone. And Team X obviously got the 16-0 win against FaZe on Cobble. So it seems like a map they're confident on. That first half is probably a good indicator of that as well.
Now, I want to look into this actually when we get a second and to see which side they played out first there. Actually, you know, did Team X have that big run on their T side, or was it starting out on the CT side? Because again, I actually quite like their T side, you know, against FaZe. I know a lot of people say it was messy CS. I actually quite like the way they constructed that B hit before on train. I like their style of play. I don't know if it's going to have the depth on Cobble. Again, this is stuff that we have to find out on the fly here, just seeing what they come up with. It's not like NiP can't handle themselves either. They are incredibly diligent side. And then again, we might see that double AWPing really finding its footing on the CT side. T side, of course, a little bit more tricky to actually find its place.
And maybe this is a situation as well for NiP where the inclusion of the substitute stand-in player of Disco Doplin is actually now being exacerbated a bit more. Maybe now this is a map perhaps they would have loved to have had Pit firing in his position. That being said, I mean, it hasn't been terrible from the guy as well. It's just how he's been used by NiP. And now we can see Team X go with his T side here.
And the thing is, I find that if you're standing on a T side, it's harder to find your place sometimes. CT side, once you know your spot, you work around it, right? You learn that spot. That's where you can find comfort. So I'm hoping maybe this is a better side for him. But yeah, let's see what we've got here, because Molly's come in with that smoke Molly combo, so this could be a nice plant piece coming out for them. Already the dink towards Forest is big. That opens up so many opportunities. It does raise the alarm bells, but now there goes that smoke. Gonna cut off the peak from Gerai. He gets punished regardless. Snappy takes him down, and now 5v3. This should be a good run from Team X here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this range going to be benefiting the USPs here for NiP, but once the bomb gets down, they're going to have to actually pick up their socks and get into the fight. Valde already falling now as well, and you can see two players for NiP up there on the balcony. And Modi will just challenge them briefly at length.
Good work from Modi there to actually take that fight. It did allow the cross to come out for Snappy so he could get the bomb down, just kind of playing that position. Now, NiP, the retake is not going to be simple. Freiburg at least does have a kit, so that creates some opportunities, but they're minimal here, Mitch. This is going to be a tough one. So again, Doplin gonna have to be the first into the blender. He finds one position, can't do much about it. It's kind of trying to untangle that crossfire, but here we go. Freiburg can't take a step further. Modi is holding a nice close angle. That Glock can really perform, and there's the follow-up. Nice work from Modi there just to secure the round in the end. But a plant as well, 3 alive. Good stuff overall to start out here for Team X.
Yeah, pretty much a nominal environment there for Team X. And nice play by Freeze there as well. He managed to punish Forest going for the early peek on A-Long there with the pistol. Completely nailed him there with the Glock, and then picking up Freiburg, who tried to peek. It was a case for NiP not being able to get information. That's the problem. They have to peek into that site, and was stacked out by Team X. Perfect start for them. 2 MAC-10s coming into this round.
This could be dangerous, though. It's an A split coming up for the T side, but the problem being there's a big stack of NiP towards A-Long, which is quite unconventional, I guess. You don't see it as often as the others. You know, you like to see on site generally. Garrett's going to try and show presence to keep, you know, Team X thinking, okay, maybe it's still a B here, you know, the B stack. And look, he hasn't seen anything. He has to commit further, and they've got the bomb here, bearing in mind. Glaive's the one behind him. He actually checks it. Good stuff from Freeze, keeping the awareness there, but still, damage comes in, and now Glaive has to fight the good fight for Team X. He's got to back away, play the safety game. He's got the bomb here.
Disco Doplin actually chasing there as well, hoping that someone was lingering up there on A-Long, and a decent infrastructure was laid for NiP for a refrag scenario. Unfortunately, just too many players from Team X there as well to get the upper hand. So for now, it's going to get right up through Connector. Valde as well going to spot him out fairly early on there as well, and the UMP going to be fairly efficient at that range. And the bomb going to go down a B here. It's going to be Disco Doplin and Exist. They're set up on A. They're very much isolated from this situation. Valde's in a position where he can cut them off if they do try and meddle or interfere here. I'd say Disco Doplin might like to try and save this MAC-10 at this stage, but Valde not going to give him the option.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, he's going to be farming the money. Just trying to get the spam through the kind of wooden wall there. Good stuff in the end from Team X. I like the kind of clarity of mind, or, you know, presence of mind, I guess I could say, of just not going straight up A-Long. You know, you do have the superior weapons, you do have the armor, but keeping themselves, you know, mentally conscious to not give away rounds, not to give them a chance, because how many times do we see those second rounds coming in and actually being deadly, actually being dangerous, seeing it turned on its head, and then the CTs start building up that economy, and, you know, you see it happen so often. So again, nice stuff. Like the way they just turned all the way around. All right, you know, fair enough. They stacked A-Long. Let's not go for the stupid risk. Let's take ourselves over towards B. Now, good deal of utility up as well. The Molly's coming in now for Team X as well. You've got a fair bit of, you know, UMP play coming out. You've got the MAC-10 as well. So this should be a nice money-building round. You can see Gerai trying to bait these guys in. But Freeze was already aware of this last round. But Disco Doplin is actually now supporting that position from Forest, so it could be even tougher for them to break into. They might lose a player here.
And there's no refrag opportunity there as well, because Gerai went actually in for that peak, and no one else from NiP able to capitalize whatsoever. So Freeze is adamant that there's someone waiting inside danger, and he's not wrong, really. Going to be smoked now as well. This will hopefully allow him to peek in towards danger without getting popped. There it is. It's the douche stack there as well. Disco Doppler going to pick him up there as well. Glaive still responds though. So this is still good for Team X. They're still building momentum here through long A. And NiP, they're definitely, you can see the premeditation into how they're trying to set up here and get a few kills at close range. But again, being shut down here one by one.
Yeah, Exist is hoping for anything now. They're checking for it as well. They all, like, Freeze already seemed to consider that there was another player up there by Get Right, hence the smoke that came in just to cut it off, so it allowed them to peek towards danger kind of freely, unless someone wants to just run through the smoke. But that aside, it's a really good start for Team X. Let's put it that way. However, let's look on the other side of things. Now, NiP can come back in with a decent buy. I say that. Get Right's gone for the shotgun. Now, I hate to say it, but it's becoming more and more viable to do this sort of stuff. Again, you know, you looked at JW with the sword off on the T side, but you've seen this now coming in more and more. I know there's a couple of players who are actually quite, an advocate for this sort of weaponry, but they've got a horrible surprise waiting on the other side of this. If he comes out of that flash, he doesn't in the end. Molly's allowed to come in, and that's the Mac 10 doing the work. Valda then follows it up. This is a big start again for Team X.
Yeah, it's perfect. They paved the way so well into drop room there as well. Disco Doppler, yeah, he gets a response there. One frag back for him, and Freiburg is forced to truck his way there through Connector. Now he's the most forward player for NiP, and Valda will be able to catch him as he comes around the corner. The man's got 25 frags right now as well. He's no joke in this game. Freiburg thinks twice about going through double doors here, but again, his passage through drop room is also going to be just as obstructed. Trying to peek on towards Freeze here as well, but he's just not giving him too much here. Team X have done this very, very well. Look at the stall coming up. It's got to be maddening as Freiburg to sit there and realize your passage is going to be constantly blocked by this use of utility because Team X played ahead of these smokes and these Molotovs.
That was really nice for them. I love them coming in with a really fast pace. It makes it hard for NiP to read what they're actually going to come up against in these kind of buy rounds, because if a team just barrels it in and wins, like, you know, the flash was great towards drop, but a full flash on Get Right, the Mac 10 gets the kill, so Molly's going to be swimming in cash.
Yeah.
And actually they got away the AWP as well. Disco Doppler going to be seething about that too. So the CTs sitting around that 3K marker, they did retain those two weapons. So again, they can kind of share the wealth, spread it out a bit. They can get something going if they want to, and they will go back onto that. But you look on the other side, it's almost the perfect buy for Team X.
Yeah, everything they could possibly want. I mean, I love it. I love how they set themselves up in a drop room there as well. You talked about Get Right getting picked up. You just never had a chance there. So, you know, Team X showing some aggression, showing their teeth, but also setting themselves up properly as well. Diligent setups for them have won them rounds. They're 5 ahead at this stage, and now they will be working over towards A long here. See smoke already placed down by Freiburg. If that's not a warning to Team X.
But look what this has done. It's pulled 4 of the players from NiP all over towards B. You hit that fast play with these smokes, people get worried about it. And look at this massive commitment. It's all on Freiburg right now. If Team X actually had, you know, some real faith in this, they could have just pushed up off the back of it. Now, of course, Freiburg would have heard that. But still, this is really, really intelligent stuff. Now, NiP's going to work out what's going on. But in theory, Team X should have some good angles already. There you go. Freeze finds Forest. It's down to Freiburg. He gets picked up. This is beautiful play from Team X. Again, pushing and pulling NiP around this map. It's the issue with being on the CT side. No information. You're always working on a deficit. And now the last 2 players, what are your options here? You might as well just sit there and save.
And this is a map where you can rotate on a dime, and that's exactly what Team X have been doing as well. They can very much at their own volition to choose sites, and to a degree, NiP have to commit to even have a chance of really holding strong on one of those here. So Get Right again, I mean, essentially nullified in the last couple of rounds, does get the auto shot, a kill on towards Glaive, and a warning shot fired towards the woodwork there. Won't connect with anyone, but still gets himself the AK here. So if he's wise, he probably wants to back away here and maybe try for a cheeky exit, but surviving here is definitely at paramount importance for NiP.
Yeah, I'm consistently impressed by Team X, if I'm very honest.
You did say in the break you're looking forward to seeing what their T-side was like.
Yeah, I'm always very, very curious about these kind of, not necessarily newer teams, but I like seeing the younger talent mixed in with that kind of more, I guess, veteran side. You get to see these really interesting plays coming out. And it's so far been actually a really interesting game to watch from that. It's I said, you know, this is still early days in the ESL Pro League, and teams are coming back into playing more, because you look at Team X, they probably played their hearts out throughout, you know, that 2-week gap period the other teams took. I can imagine NiP, you know, took their holidays. They'd been grinding out beforehand. But you come back in, NiP are probably cold to playing as a team. They've got that standing coming through. Of course, they have a lot of things, you know, against them in this sort of aspect, whereas Team X have a lot going for them. So again, it's maybe a higher peak currently for Team X and a little bit of a slower start for NiP, but it's always enjoyable to see this. And again, you know, every game counts. Do you remember the last season of Pro League? It came down to those last couple of games.
Oh, God, it was a nightmare.
Exactly.
Like 7-way ties, something stupid.
That's it. So even losing games like this, if they do lose, it's still very much up in the air. It can turn around. 13-7, though, is a very nice scoreline. you could imagine you'd look back if you're NiP and go, those opening games, it's always frustrating.
It's a real shame. It was a real shame to actually see then SK fall out of the groups at DreamHack Summer, because obviously that was a team that Valde and Glaive were filling in for at the time, and they played really, really well. This is just a shame. They're the only team that took maps off Immortals, who won the whole event there ultimately as well, and didn't really drop any other maps to anyone else there. So, I mean, they kind of got the short end of the stick here, and that's probably why as well that Valde and Glaive are ultimately playing in this lineup, because it was such a successful experiment to bring them into the mix there. So Northern Arena, even minus Modi for Team X, and they're going to bring in Nico, not Nico from Mouseful. It's a different one. Should be interesting.
That's the thing. Like for me, Glaive has been such a really enjoyable player to watch as well. He's not having a massive game now, but you know when he plays well, he plays really well. That he's such a high skill ceiling that he likes to hit. It seems. I think he impressed a lot of people when he stepped in for Astralis. You know, no one really expected him to be able to achieve that sort of performance, but he really came through there. But anyway, let's get into this one. 13-7, Mitch. This is getting worrying for NiP now. This is when you start going.
This is butt clench. This is butt clench territory.
It really is. And well, they're down to a really bad situation money-wise. Look at it. 2 rifles that were kept from previous round, which was Disco Doppelans and Get Rights. That's all they have to work with. Everyone else, pistols and the occasional piece of armor. So to weather this storm is going to be incredibly hard.
Absolutely. NiP being put to the sword here. But Team X still have a couple more rounds to grind out before they hit the magic number 16. Early AWP play there for Freeze over towards that B platform, but the smoke being up, of course, is going to obscure anyone from NiP on the other side. This is a very patchy buy, of course. The 2 rifles saved from the prior round, plus 5.7s in the mix as well as P250. So, yeah, very, very little to work with here. Freeze not going to be able to get the flash shot there as well, but now going to be pushed onto as well. This is what we want to see from NiP. Bit of aggression here as well, given that they're underarmed.
I love the way they worked at the back of that flash then. 3 players peeking out as well. They had, limited amounts to work with, so they made the best of a bad situation. It's got them a decent trade, but now they have to deal with the rest of it. You can see Valde now, that's just unleashed him. He's got himself in towards drop. He's waiting for someone to try and find a challenge. Freeze is holding firm. He's got the bomb, doesn't want to commit. And Gerard's got the back. He's telling us, just go for this. Try and get in there. Why not? He had the support in place, and he actually catches him out. That's got him a rifle too. He has the armor to support it. This has become far harder now for Team X. They've been hesitant. They look, a little scared to commit here. They got outdone on that first peak, and now they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, NiP have the numbers advantage and the same amount of rifles as Team X are currently toting, so that is a very, very good result. Gerard just needs to hang around a little bit longer. He would have seen Glaive backing away from that position. Tries to go for a bit of a stab in the dark at the spray down and won't connect, but still gets the information that they're backing out of B. So Doppelin going to be helping over at A.
Now, Freiburg should be able to do something pretty decent here. They might face it, but he can at least bait in his other teammates, and that's perfect. He even gets a kill out of it. That's brilliant. He's got the information. That's all he needed to do, really, at this point, and allow it to the guys with the rifles to close this round down. Again, though, Freeze... Oh, it was Glaive actually in that position who just pushed forward. That was kind of strange. I'm not too sure how that was meant to go down, but still, they got a bomb plant out of it for Team X, so I guess, not all lost. But for NiP, they fought tooth and nail to stay in that round.
Yeah, and you can see how they tried to buy in around that as well and facilitate the players with rifles to actually have an impact there as well. But situations like that, when you're Freiburg around the corner, this is great. You trade a pistol player in for a kill, you give yourself a numbers advantage, you get a rifle away from them. You really can't ask for much more than that if you're in Freiburg's position.
And it's about buying time. They were down to 7 seconds. If he'd killed the guy with the bomb, then even better, that's brilliant. But end of the day, the money's pretty robust. I wouldn't say phenomenal for Team X, but it's pretty good at this point. They're pretty well set going forward.
Well.
However, double up on the CT side. This is what I was expecting from NiP, but they never quite got the chance to get it out because their money's been kind of trashed throughout this game. So finally, it looks like a bit of a default coming out from Team X.
Well, the last time we saw a double up from NiP was in the first half. Didn't work out very well for them on that T side, but perhaps here we'll be able to put it to better use. It's going to be a slower roll through here from Team X. Whether this is a default or just a sit and chat round for them, they haven't really made any real inclinations to either of these sites as of yet. There's Forest here as well, looking straight down in towards underpass. 3 players from Team X on the other side here as well. You can see Snappy testing, peeking as well, waiting on the smoke timing. Freeze would like to take control towards long A, I'm sure.
Forrest is going to wait on the timing of that shot. Didn't find anything from it, however. It does mean the alarm bells start to ring. They start to get curious as to what's going on, because there's presence shown now by Drop. There's been presence shown by A. However, no one from B has actually pulled themselves over towards A yet. They already had those 2 players there, which was Forrest and Freiburg. So Exist, Get Right, and Disco Doppelin still holding it down. They still have that AWP as well at Coop, so that could be an issue if they don't flash it out. But then again, Team X's executions towards the site have been pretty robust. They don't have a great deal to work with, so every single piece that gets put down needs to be correct.
Playing again ahead of your utility against an AWP player as well could be quite risky. So they're going to try and pave the way a little bit here as well. But there's Get Right and Exist chiming in together, just popping up. It's whack-a-mole, albeit the more gruesome version perhaps, as Disco Doppelin chimes in towards the end of the round, gets himself 2 kills and possibly even doubles his frag total for the game there. Not quite. But he definitely had a quiet first half. It's good to see him chiming in here.
Well, that was actually a really nice little bit of crossfire play set up. No one was able to undo it. No one was able to find exist quick enough. I think, was it Freeze he killed first? So again, didn't have much of a shot on that one. So for me, maybe it's time for a bit of a talk for Team X here, because it looks like they're hitting a bit of a wall. And this is the thing I was wondering, is how much depth do they have to their play on their T side? Because you looked at that phase game. I'm only going off what I was able to see on train, or at least what stood out to me was it worked well, but then you compare it to their hits towards A or anything else, they were pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, and they would try and they set up their A hits as much as they could with smokes, and they do all the right things. That's fine. When it actually came to getting onto the site and winning the aim duels as well was a struggle for them. Their B hits were great, but they often exploited the fact that Kiyoshima was left on that B side on his own as well. Their timings were fairly fortuitous for him. And
also, let's be very honest, I don't think he'd be upset about us saying either. Alu had not a massive game.
Yeah,
he was okay. You know, just not off the big star that people expected. However, you look at like Forest, maybe Disco Doppler, you'll see them hitting shots at least. Maybe not as consistently as I imagined, but they are
that one
very...
he missed on overpass last night as well.
Really, yeah,
and then he managed to win it with a wall bang. So funny that as well. The shot was on point from Disco Doppler, but sometimes he just seems to get done over.
Just get CSGO'd.
Yeah, exactly.
The infamous CSGO'd, isn't it fun? But yeah, the players who are actually stepping up at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, is actually one of them being Freiburg there. Freiburg and Get Right.
The last few rounds of Freiburg are really good. I mean, it goes back to just getting that trade out with the pistol, the 5.7 over on the A side earlier on there. So doing the right things.
All right, but the money is starting to deplete for the T side now. They had that really nice streak of rounds, so of course they had a good, a little bit of fallback play there. They had enough to build from, but now it's starting to wither, starting to come down to a bit of a point. But they do have a really nice buy still coming into this one, but on the other side, still that double AWP presence. And bear in mind, it's Freiburg on long, and has he misjudged this? Modi is very close by. Modi's going to take that fight, and he loses it. Freiburg quicker on the trigger.
Oh, yeah, the timing as well just kind of paid off for Freiburg. If he had that grenade in his hand as Modi had come around the corner or peeked him or anything like that, it would have been lights out Sally. But still, great opening here for NiP. This is now going to take a bit of the wind out of Team X's sails. They're all stacked up to get the hit towards underpass, but Forest is just going to pick and choose.
What's the plan there, Glaive?
I'm not really sure. Hoping to maybe just get a peek on him, or for some reason a freeze there drops to Forest as well. So that's his second kill in towards underpass. Freeze maybe should have been the first to challenge him there with the AWP.
All right, so for me, Team X have definitely hit that wall. Now, I don't know what their plan was this round, but it's not worked out. They're down to 2, so Snappy and Velda. Now, normally when you're coming against double AWPs, you want to negate 1 at least, so you don't allow it to play in towards it. And that's normally by just doing those big side hits. You can see instantly that pullover of players has come in. They've really pinched on that bomb. They're not allowing them to play off the back of it now. Snappy's left in a really dire spot.
And you can see that Exist Freiburg actually just stacked up here a little bit as well, so it doesn't really matter what you peek into them. It's always going to be NiP with a net gain from that engagement. And the bomb, obviously, that's why they're sort of stuck there, because the bomb's been dropped in underpass. So for Snappy as well, he's going to have to be snappy in making a decision here. He might be chased down eventually. I think it would be NiP. Eventually look to try and take the gun out of his hands. As you said, the Team X's economy was fair. Wasn't overly solidified. Now, though, it's going to be a bit of a different story. You can see it's an absolute jumble of monetary totals there as well. And I'd say that Team X, mate, just sit back on this.
Depends what they want to go for. They can't, like, 2 of them can go for, like, the Tech 9s. Well, yeah, they're all going to go for the Tech 9s. Okay. So, Tech 9 armor. For me, I just want them to do like a big B hit again. I want them to bring that really fast pace in, try and maybe just isolate one of the AWPs.
Proactivity worked so well for them.
And even if they isolate the 2 AWPers as well, it's so hard to play retake on a double AWP. So again, I just really want to see that come through. I'm not sure how well this is going to go down, but Get Right should be able to deal with at least one. He does with the supports there. Exist is the backbone of that one. Now he's being overwhelmed though. He's got a lot of players pushing him, but Disco Doppler holding his ground, and that's where you want to see consistency coming out for NiP. And those 2 players working very nicely off each other.
Yeah, it's almost reminiscent of the buddy system that Virtus Pro utilised over on that B side when they played against Godsend. Obviously saw Pasha, and I think it might have been Neo, just working together in tandem there. Yeah. Good little situation to use. We saw from NiP in the round prior to that, actually, when they were watching the bomb in towards underpass. I think it was Freiburg and Forest there at the time. So.
Mitch, I want to see the fast B hit.
Oh, come on.
I want to see just like a nice B hit. That's what I want to see.
That's it. Well, might have that, Lauren. It's just 5 AKs here. No IWP to work around, so definitely can't really sit back too much.
There's a 4-stack, Mitch. It's already gone wrong.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, Exist there gets there a bit earlier on there as well. 6 no one peeked past the smoke, so this is definitely put a spanner in the works for Team X now as they're set up. I mean, they're just going to everyone line up together and throw nades like good Boy Scouts and hope that they can set something up here. Exist can be flashed briefly, but now these stairs being here gives us so much flexibility up on this platform. It's flashed again, though, as well. Now it should go down. Snappy picks them up. Dropping up on the statue there as well. Misses the first shot. Really would have liked to have gotten that one to slow down at Team X here, but Forest gets himself one. Smoke screened off the side nicely. Somehow Forest finds Glaive's head through the smoke. Don't know how that works. And Valde's forced to challenge, but goes down. 2v3. The bomb is down, and Modi and Snappy just need to work this together.
decent crossfire position. It can be outdone, though. They're depending on each other to hold these angles, Mitch. They have nothing else to play with here. Forest still coming back into it. The Molly's burning him alive. He has to swing out, but he's going to take the damage, Molly. They're going to take the quick fight, and he baits it out a little bit too much. And Freiburg gets both of them back to back and be able to retain that utility, just push them out of those final positions they were trying to hunker down in. And the scoreline gets closer here.
And the thing is, Snappy was obviously supposed to be watching Modi there as well, and he was. As soon as Modi went down to Freiburg, he tries to spray down on Freiburg and misses pretty much every shot there as well. He had to pull the shot originally because Modi was standing in between him and Freiburg, so he can't do much. So Freiburg essentially, he gets 2 1v1s instead of a 1v2 purely because Snappy didn't want to kill his teammate.
Yep. Oh, that's pretty unfortunate. And again, though, you look at it now, if they're going to go back to what it kind of ends up being normally that A hit that they like to try and play into, it seems, on this T side. Normally, it's Freiburg undoing it by either picking up Modi as he tries to work up long, but this time Modi's elsewhere. He's had enough of that game plan. So going to play default to start with, maybe here for Team X, and try and find more options. But those options are being limited when Forest is doing this early work. That's Freeze gone. That's their AWPing presence already removed from Team X.
Yeah, and this is that classic NiP now as well. A bit of confidence. They're peeking up out of that shell of theirs, and with Forest opening things up like that as well, that's, well, Team X losing momentum before they can even build any up here as well. So now they're spinning their tires for the next few moments. Snappy pulling back away from Underpass here. Might even join Glavet at long A eventually here. And no one from NiP pushing up really here as well. It's just Forest. He went forward. He looked for something, and now NiP sitting quite deep up on this A side.
And it's going to cost them so much time for Team X. They have to clear so much. They knew that Freiburg was on long at one point. You can see the air of caution they're having to show here. So they still have the smoke, so they can smoke off the door, they can flash in towards this, but by that time, you can see Gerard's already considering this is going to be an A hit. He's already starting to look towards it. He's playing by the pillar. He's going to be watching that window in case it's that split coming down. But all 4 players left for Team X are about to build into the site. Both Forest and Freiburg were flashed, but there's now 3 NiP players waiting for them.
And they're giving ground here as well. You can see the Glaive obviously over towards Wooden. Freiburg has 2 angles to watch him out. He's going to win the challenge on him there as well. This puts pressure on Forest. He tries to go for the peak, but Snappy with the AWP of all people shuts him down. And now the 2v2 is in our hands as Modi gets himself a nice couple there as well to open things up. And now Disco Doppelin, the stand-in, the young talent coming in here for Epsilon, has a heck of a lot to do, but he catches Modi with his back turned, and now it's just going to be Snappy on the side. Yes, the bomb's down, but Doppelin has himself a molly and a kid to defuse with here as well. It's going to come down to the clean challenge, but it's Snappy comes out around a corner, and Disco Doppelin didn't know what hit him.
My word. Team X, okay, they pull it back from the brink. Again, their money is not good here, so don't think this could be an easy string together, but that came down to the wire. I've got to give credit to Disco Doppelin then. I love that way he played off the first kill. Once he saw that smoke go down, he made the assumption that, okay, they're not going to be watching that instantly. They're not going to keep that in mind straight away. They won't expect me to go through. They're not going to expect me to push through it. And Modi got caught out, even though Modi did some really big work there as well to allow that to even get back to this sort of close situation. So again, these rounds are so close between them now. That just swung to the hands of Team X there, but I'm not. It's not clear cut. Yeah, again, Freiburg can be maybe have bigger impact here if he wants to stick out on long a little longer. Last time he fell away pretty early on. He's still got Forest as well, watching towards middle, so no one can just sneak up towards danger on him, which is exactly what you need. If someone maybe smokes that out, though, Freiburg will feel isolated, and that's where you could see a problem. But the flash probably going to come out from Snappy. Maybe Modi going to take the fight, but again, this intuition, I love that. Just reading into it, getting that feeling. That's going to deny the quick flash and just cost him a little bit of time.
Really, Freiburg seems quite comfortable playing long A there on his own. He's alternating between going deep and sitting back on that one there as well. So
now he's in danger.
Flashed.
This is the thing, he has to back away now. He can't stick out in that position once danger becomes compromised. He's going to hold by cannons now. It's a nice play to be able to watch the cross, but now Forest has to keep him safe.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a one and done if you're on your own there as well. So Forest, again, yeah, he definitely needs to step up here and facilitate for Freiburg to shut this one down. Clay going to go for the peak, but he peeks into too many players, and Freiburg going to open up there as well. This helps him get the next kill on towards Valde, and Snappy also falls. Now Freiburg wants to challenge Modi, but backs away briefly. He's going to open himself up to Freeze here as well, who's just chomping at the bit to try and get a couple more kills. Thin out NiP as much as possible. And Modi's done just that. He makes the 2v2, challenges on towards Forest, and Forest, as soon as his feet hit the ground, he takes the shot, gets the kill, and Freeze down to 57.
He knows where they are now. He can actually... Oh, he could have almost made it there. Forest picked up the M4 and went on the hunt. Does retain both orbs. But that got kind of dangerous to have those both orbs left in that position. And you've got to feel for Freeze almost then. He was trying to hit that shot on Forest for so long underneath it. But I think Forest might have either been on the ledge, kind of, on that, not the wheel arch, but there's a little ledge at the back of that truck there again, or just maybe just wasn't hitting the shot. So Tech9's coming out now for Team X. Again, having to throw in whatever they have here, because that scoreline is getting incredibly close. NiP really coming back into this game. Once we saw that double orb come out, it's become a matter of real consistency for them, locking down down these guys. Get Right's been having a bit of, a bit of a tussle there in drop on occasion, but this time he looks pretty safe here, pretty secure, not been pressured just yet.
Yeah, his T side was excellent, actually, Get Right's now as well. He's forced to play a bit of a tougher role, as we know. It's your JWs and your Get Right's and the likes of those players that are sort of forced into that position. Well, choose it either way, it's not the easiest. So, Team X, slow and steady. Others had pretty much no money at the start of this round. I'm surprised they even bought, actually. Some of them were under 1,800 individually. But still, they've gone for it, of course. But at this point, you probably need to get your skates on and get some rounds on the board and finish things off.
1 minute, 7 seconds. Every single player for Team X now looking towards B, just waiting for their opportunity. And the problem is, again, though, that Exist and Disco Doppelin have been very good at holding this, but not every player is dedicated here. Get Right's already backed away from actually actively holding drop. It's going to allow for a chance. It's a slim chance, but they're going to take it. Snappy finds Exist, but that's about it until then. Valde is going to turn the tide a little now. Back to a 3v3. It's deadly with this AWP still, and there's that crossfire kicking into gear. Forest now comes here to save the day, deny any more pressure, but Glaive's got other plans. He's still on the go. Freiburg's a little flashed up there. I think there's possibly a team flash as well. Comes back out, but there's Glaive down and out. Close round, but close rounds aren't going to win you the game at this point. It's 14-14, Mitch.
It's nice there as well, the double AWP coming into play, both AWPs on that same side. It almost seems like a bit of a safety net in the last few rounds for NiP. If some of their more forward players or their frontliners are taken down, we can see situations like that where Disco Doppelin and Forest both chime in with kills of their own, really start to slow Team X down. And that was the force last round. This time they've got to be a bit more patient and sensible here. Nothing brought up really at all. See what they can make with this buy. It's mostly Glocks here as well. Glaive does have himself a as well.
The Glock train. Forest should have an enjoyable time, at least until now. He misses the shot that he needs to hit. Switched up to P250. I'm still so unsure of those sounds, and it's absolute bloodbath. When I hear that P250, I'm just like, what
it's quite strange as well. 5-7 as well.
What are you? Yeah. It's gross. But yeah, they had to do that to even have a chance to take it to 15-15. But if you've been looking at the last couple of rounds, it doesn't look likely for Team X unless they just do something completely different.
So now they've got to play around double AWPs, Team X do, without one of their own here as well. So it's going to, well, ideally require a change of thought process here in how they approach these sites, because if NiP can keep Team X at arm's length, they will be able to cut them down before they even get close enough to draw a scratch. I like this from Forest. Coming forward, actually through the smoke there as well.
Glaive.
Not bad at all. Very
Brilliant.
low, Forest is.
Yeah, going to push him back to 12 HP. That's the first time we haven't seen a quick opening kill going to the hands of NiP in quite some time. It's not enough to swing it yet in towards maybe Team X's favor, but that's going to certainly keep Forest humble, having to fall back way more passively than it was before. But Disco Doppelin going hunting a little bit here, trying to keep some control over B platform area, peeking down into it. Freiburg still safe enough, playing up by long, and actually he's got support this time. He's reading this very, very well. The nade's going to go through. That's going to isolate him again, and now he's got Get Right behind him. That's the biggest swing factor now. That could change this one around. They're very quickly pushing off the back of this. They know they can smell blood here, and they want to exploit that.
I think Get Right going to peek in there as well towards Danger, gets himself two, and that's just taking the wheels off of the Team X card. Glaive just trying to peek in there, but this is just vintage Get Right now. It doesn't matter who you are. You got no name when you come up against this man. It's going to be Freeze finally able to shut him down, but that's just the cherry on top of a nice little comeback here in the second half for NiP. Freeze realizes now he's pretty much done. So, again, not many options remain for this man.
Nice picky poison, isn't it? There you go. He chooses to go out by Forest's route. And in the end, what a turnaround off the back of quite the one-sided half, actually. It looked like Team X had control, but then it looked like the lack of depth really did start to hinder them on their T side.
Yeah, and you foreshadowed it quite well. As soon as we saw the double AWP come up on the CT side, you were like, all right, we haven't seen this yet from NiP on this half. They've struggled to solidify here. Maybe that's going to be the tonic, and it was just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, it really was. Again, I've got a feel for Team X. They keep having these quite close results. That result is actually pretty good. If you look at the scoreline overall, that was a very close game, but just didn't have that depth to close out. It felt like, they just a little run out of steam there. But still, this team's come into it, and you wouldn't have said them to be a team to be challenging the likes of NiP. But I think it was Yanko said it at the start as well. On custom maps, they're pretty comfortable on them for Team X. He thought this could be a close matchup, and it certainly was to start with.
Yeah, so we can see now why Team X were so strong against FaZe earlier on. Not quite enough to get them over the line against NiP, but now we're going to pass over to the desk for Alex and Co to give us a few more insights on this one. Take it away.
Thanks very much, you two. Indeed, it has been a bit of a turbulent affair for Team X. We did acknowledge that they were coming into that game as underdogs. I've got Yanko and Henry to talk through how Cobblestone did play out in the end. In the grand scheme of things, I mean, it seemed like a lot of people were pleasantly surprised after the first half. A lot of the Danes were sticking it to NiP.
I'm just glad we had a good competitive game there.
It was
didn't
better.
feel like it was sloppy.
Yeah.
It was actually like both teams playing very well at moments. At the start of the game especially, we saw NiP winning the pistol. Then they lost the first gun round. They've got it back to 6-1. Looked like they're going to run away with it. But then the adjustment came in from Team X. They started realizing realizing they just need to play a little bit more passively, have the crossfires on the bomb sides there, and it was Vowed especially. He was going absolutely sick on the CT side, like dropping like 25 frags in the first half, so that was really impressive to see. NiP, though, they grinded out. They are the king of comebacks. We've seen it so many times in these big games, and Doplin, we were singing his praises yesterday. He had that shocker of a first half. What was he on, like 0-9, I think it was?
I think, yeah, before we got the first kill.
But then he bounced back in the second half. That's, you can show you, like, you can have those horrible first halves, but it doesn't mean the game's over. He grinded out in the second, got like 11 kills, and yeah, it was a really good performance from NiP, and those comebacks are the ones that feel the best, so they'll probably be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, Team X unable to kind of close out on their T side though, Yanko. It looked like they had a very good read on the NiP boys in their defense. Couldn't quite make it finish it.
It was a bit of a weird game for me in that sense.
Yeah.
Knowing that both teams had a good start on the T side, NiP being up 6-1, Team X being up 4-0 in the second half. Usually when you get off to a good start, that's when you have the control of the economy, that's when you won the first gun round or you reset your opponent's economy so you can switch things up, as we saw NiP do in the first half with that push towards A with 4 players, with the quick smoke execute, right? But it was the opposite. Both teams managed to bounce back on their city side. I think that it was Valde for Team X and it was Getright who had a really good performance for NiP with that last round we saw. I think he also ended up somewhere around 30 kills in the end.
Freiberg was pretty sensational on the CT half as well. He's like between both bomb sides. They had a good read on the situation. It was NiP who were focusing on the B side almost every single round. We saw a bit more dynamic play from X from their terrorist half, but NiP just had them locked down in terms of the read and the rotations and stuff like that. It started off very well for them. Lots of fakes coming in. They were like locking NiP down, but as soon as they kind of downloaded it, got the double orbs going as well, and then Forest, he was great once again. So yeah, it was a really entertaining game. I'm glad we kicked things off nicely.
So with Team X on their defense, we said already they had a good CT side, a good whole Valdi in particular on B, but one of the criticisms I heard Pansy hailing was it was quite passive on the CT side. It was a passive hold, and I remember we talked about this in Malmo, Yanko, we were talking about how Tyloo were making that happen, and it's quite a rarity on Cobble to be so passive and it to work.
The thing is, you can't be passive in both drop and B platform, right? On that B bomb side,
choose one.
You need to be passive on one or the other, right? So they didn't. How they won City round once they adjusted. They were passive in drop, right? And Getright was exploiting that. It's what he does a lot, goes for that fast drop control. But then they switched up and they went aggressive towards the B platform. They had 2 players there, you know, or Valde was at least playing really close up, so they wouldn't give them both control of drop and platform. Because if you do that, you don't have really many places left in the bomb site to hide or to have crossfires set up. So I think that was what won Team X rounds.
And with that all said and done, we do turn our attention to our second map. We're going to be talking about Overpass after our break. But if you want to understand exactly how Cobble did go down, or if you did just join us and you missed the action of our first map of our second day here for the ESL Pro League, head to the Score Esports application on your smartphone while we do take a quick break. It'll help you stay up to date with the stats, news, and even the articles as well. You grab that. We'll be back with Overpass in just a tickety boo.